Number one, Murphy bed. Now, this is a great option if you have a one-bedroom apartment or flat, or if you want to put it in a small bedroom. Now, what is a Murphy bed? A Murphy bed is a bed that you can collapse or store away when it's not in use. And usually when it's closed, it looks like a wardrobe. Nobody would ever tell. And then when it's open, voila, it's a bed. And you can even make it really nice, by adding some wall sconces to it, so that even when it's open, you have some nice wall sconces and it looks really good, right? So what are the advantages of a Murphy bed? Well, obviously the fact that you can fold away the bed when it's not in use, and then it creates space into the room. You can use the room for anything else. Could be, if it is a one-bedroom apartment, it means that you feel like you have more space because the bed does take up a lot of space. And the good thing about it is that you can still add some other things that you can later on move away when you open the bed. But I do have to say that Murphy beds usually come with a hefty price point, because obviously everybody wants to save space and they just, make so much sense. I mean, you can even use one in a guest room, guest office situation where you have your desk where you work from, but in the back you can just put the Murphy bed there and always have it closed. Have guests come over, you can then open the Murphy bed and then they can feel at home. And what would even be best in such a situation would be to put wheels on the desk so that you can wheel it off out of sight or out of place, so that it can create circulation space for the people who will be using the room. Now, whatever your situation is or however it's looking, trust me, a Murphy bed is going to be a really good idea. And this is the reason why I have linked some options down below, one a little bit pricey and one a little bit lower, so that you can choose and pick what you like and what you afford, and then hopefully it will really help you save space. 2, a glass table. So this can be a glass dining table, or this can be a glass coffee table. I know that some people are a bit apprehensive of having a glass table, but hear me out. The thing is, when you have furniture with a glass top, it allows light to pass through it, right? So it doesn't really have that feeling of consuming space. In other words, you would say that its visual weight is light. So what do I mean about visual weight? Compare these two chairs, chair A and chair B. So whilst they both have the same form and look, pretty similar, you will notice that the darker one does look heavier. And this is because of its color. It feels like it consumes more weight visually. It feels heavier. If you were to guess which one is the heaviest between these two, you would most likely say the darker one. And so in a small space, you really want to avoid objects such as this that consume the space. And so this is why having a glass table is best. It allows light to pass through. Its visual weight is really reduced, it's really low, and it doesn't have that imposing nature. If you really aren't into glass furniture, you can also look into Perspex furniture. Get the same effect but with a different kind of material. It is of course not breakable, but it really has a light visual weight, and so in a small space this would be great. I don't know if there are such coffee tables or side tables, but I do know that you can get some of this material as chairs. I know a lot of ghost chairs, as they're called, look like this. So think about it. It's a good idea and it will do your space. 3, an upholstered coffee table. So previously I just spoke about a glass coffee table, and if that's really not for you, then I have another option, which is an upholstered coffee table. Now, the benefits of this is that it is performing 2 functions. You are using it both as a coffee table, but the beauty of it is that it has storage underneath it. So you can always put away some things that are perhaps related to the living room, or if you're using your living room as a dining area as well, you could put away some of the dining area things like extra plates, extra cutlery, some serviettes, some table mats and tablecloths, all that kind of things, or whatever else you have to store away, right? You know what you have. So this is the advantage of an upholstered coffee table. Now, contrasting it with the glass coffee table, upholstered coffee table will have more visual weight, but it does perform the job. And if you have children, perhaps this is a more safer choice, as if they fall or if they come too close to the edges, you don't have to be a bit uneasy about whether it's safe or not safe for them. In addition, you could also use it as a seat. When you have extra guests, they can just sit. And to be quite fair, I wouldn't be doing upholstered coffee tables justice, if I didn't mention that they can also serve as extra seating. So if you have guests over, you don't have to worry about, oh, where will they sit? Perhaps you only have a 3-seater sofa. Well, voila, your upholstered coffee table is also extra seating. So in this case, it really does perform a lot of uses with only one furniture piece. And so I would really advise to consider this if glass coffee tables are not your thing. 4, a storage bed or a day bed. I'm quite a fan of day beds. In fact, behind me is my desk and across me is a day bed. I love this day bed because, you know, I'm working here. This room is mostly a work room, but when we have guests over, we also use it as our guest room. And so what I would have to simply do is to open this day bed, and then there you go, we have a bed for our guests. And I love that, you know, since it's a day bed, it's designed to look like a sitting space. During the day, I could just take a seat over there, I could relax. And so in a situation where you're using your day bed as a sofa, you can also use it as a guest bed later when you have guests. And this is why I like day beds. Usually if you take those that have nice arms, you know, then they really look like a sofa, then, you know, you're really killing 2 beds with one. On the other hand, I did mention storage beds, so beds that have storage underneath. If you live in an area that has 4 seasons like I do, then you know that, you know, clothes can really get bulky real fast. We have all those winter jackets, and then during spring, you have stuff for spring. During summer, you know how it goes. So having a bed that has storage is really ideal in this case. You just store everything under it and you can call it a day. But this is where I would really advocate for having a day bed, but with storage as well. So you not only have extra storage, but you also have a day bed. Also, the day bed can be used as seating, so really it's 3 in 1, and in this case it can really be useful in a small space. I will link below the one that I have because it has all 3 features. It's from IKEA and it wasn't that expensive. It was a nice purchase, so I do encourage you to look at the links that I have linked below and see what piques your interest. 5, pull down shelves. For all of those who are like me, who like clutter out of the way, but who still own a lot of clutter, then this option is going to be nice for you. There are different versions of it. Well, firstly, in a laundry room, you could install a pull-down drying rack where, you know, you pull it down, you put your wet clothes, and then you pull it back up when your wet clothes have dried, and it goes back up out of sight. It's not in your face. It's not screaming, "I'm here, look at me." You know, it's away and out of sight. And you can also do this in a small kitchen, for example, if you have some really high cabinets, but unfortunately, because they're just so high up, you can't really use them. That's really a lot of space that's wasted. So instead of doing it that way, you could prefer to add these pull down shelves that, you know, you put things there and then you pull them back up. And then when you need something, you pull them down and then you have access to them. This would be a really nice option in that case. And I love that you can store whatever you want on them and you never feel like, you know, it's cluttering your space or it's becoming too claustrophobic. 6, furniture on wheels. I think I've mentioned this already a little bit, but I felt like it's so important that it deserves its own spot on this list. So furniture on wheels is really amazing because actually, if we look at the hotspot of a home, during the day, we see underutilization of the bedroom because it's really not in use. Nobody's sleeping during the day usually. And so, you know, it's just space that's there that could store some things during the day, especially when you have a small apartment, right? So if you have perhaps a desk on wheels, a baby cot on wheels, you could also have chairs on wheels, as we always know. You could have a bar cart on wheels. You know, it's really endless and it's really up to you. If you like, you can even put your bed on wheels. So you just wheel it in and out of the space. You know, when it's in use, you have it there, and when it's not in use, you have it out. To give you a practical example, which you can relate to, I have a bar cart, and this bar cart is on wheels. I store on it some Tupperware, some vegetables, and I store it under our kitchen counter, and that way it is out of sight. But if I were to host a cocktail party, you know, or a dinner party, all I would need to do would be to stuff this bar cart with all the essential things that I need and then wheel it into the living space where guests can create their own cocktails. Or even when I can carry some heavy things that I need to put into the living area with the guests. And then later I can just return it to the kitchen and it goes back to its normal use. So I really encourage you to get creative with this one. Just add wheels on furniture. It's really easy to add. You can look up some YouTube tutorials and before you know it, you just move things in around your home depending where the high traffic is and depending on where you need it during a particular time of the day. 7, extendable tables. Again, we do have an extended dining table in our apartment, and I tell you that it is a very good purchase. When it's just the two of us, we keep it closed and compact, and so we don't have to have this huge table that's not, in use and yet wasting space. And then when we have guests, we also don't have to feel restricted to these 6 people that we can sit on this small closed table, but rather we know that we can fit 8 or even 10 if we want to squeeze on this table. And this really opens up our hosting opportunities and allows us to have fun with family and friends that we love in our apartment. So an extendable table is really a must-have in a small space. There are different types of extended tables, right? For example, ours, it has an added piece of wood that we really literally take away and store away when it's not in use. But when it's in use, you take it away and you add it to the table, and then you have a longer table. But then I know that there are other extendable tables that have this piece as a part of the table. You cannot remove it and put it in a separate location. This is also actually really good because you don't have to worry about where will I store this extra piece of length of wood on, And so I would urge you to consider this before you purchase that. Do I want it as part of the table and then, it's mounted under the table, or I don't mind, it can be wherever it is. Whatever the case is, just, think about having an extended table. It's very useful and it really allows you to have as much circulation as you need in a given time. I mean, when we have guests in our dining room, what we then do is open the door and keep it open all the time so that we don't always have to hit the table opening the door. But other than that, circulation is fine. And then when we are alone, because of course it's not cozy when you have the door open, we close the door, we remove this extendable piece and we carry it away, and then we have a nice, more compact table. So please think about this. It is really good. 8, a compound table and chair units. So this goes hand in hand with the last part, but this is really then now a compact table that you can fit the stools under it, and then it comes as one unit. And I think this is also a handy addition, especially if you have children and you need a table for them, perhaps for their drawing and reading activities. But in the end, things feel too cluttered. So that after they're done with that, they can even do it. It's not difficult in some cases, depending on what you choose. They just push the stools under the table, and without much work, you have things back in order and it's not looking so cluttered as before. So, there are a lot of different options when it comes to this, but it's really nice and it's really worth considering. Of course, when you start thinking about comfort and you start thinking about, something that would last you longer, like durable materials, perhaps this is not the best option, but you know what, you have to make it work, and sometimes you really can't have it all. So it's about thinking about what is most important to you during that point in time. And if you really then want it more stronger, I'm sure there are options out there that are available that can really last you longer. 9, foldable chairs. So it would be really unfair for me to talk about extendable tables if I didn't talk about foldable chairs, right? Foldable chairs are great. I think a lot of people love and have them as summer chairs, when you are going for a picnic, when you're going to a camping site. But you actually have folding chairs within the home as well. There are nice wooden options available, even nice plastic options. But I think if you want a bit more elegant look, then you might want to go with the wooden option. And they come in all different shapes and sizes, and you can go as big as you like, or you can go as small as you like, as comfortable as you like. And sometimes people can complain that they're not as comfortable, and that is easily solvable by just adding a cushion underneath it when it's open and when it's in use. So really, you don't have to feel like you're limited here. Foldable chairs are a great option. You can just have some hooks on the wall that you can hook that chair when it's not in use, and then you don't have to worry about so much storage. The other beauty of foldable chairs is how lightweight they are. They're not usually heavy, so they're quite practical in that way. When you have guests over, you don't want to take things out from the basement that are so heavy, and then you come in and you're sweating and you're out of breath. So it's nice that they're lightweight and they're a good option. And lastly, let's talk about loft beds. I have to be honest that loft beds aren't really my thing, but it would be unfair not to talk about them just because I don't like them, because we each have to choose for our own. And loft beds, the beauty of it is that when it's on top, when the bed is mounted on top, then you have space for other things under here. Typically, you would find that people put a desk under there, but it can really be anything. It can be a play area, it can even be a sitting area where you put a sofa and a TV. So whatever you like. I would just encourage you to really go for the option that works best for you. I am pro built-in, but I do understand that if you're a renter, then that's not an option, and perhaps you want something that you can easily deconstruct. In that case, I will advise you to then go this route for children. I know that IKEA has some nice loft beds to offer that come with a desk, and I remember as a child I was really hoping to get that as a present for my parents. Fortunately, it never worked out, but I know that kids would be fascinated with this. You know, I get to sleep up and I get to read and study and play under here. It's fascinating. It's a cute setup, and so I encourage you to think about this. So thank you so much for sticking around till the end, and catch you in the next